One of the hugest mistakes that I've made in my life, to be totally honest with you, is labeling things too soon. And that pertains to relationships, like friendships. You may feel a certain way about another person, but they may not feel the same exact way towards you. And it goes back to deep conversations I had with my mother, but also with solid, good friends of mine. And it really had me look at myself. You have to look at yourself. A lot of times we look at other people, which I've done. And it came to a point where I had to look at my own heart and look at my own decisions and look at me. Like, what's up with me? Let's not focus on them. Let me see what's up with my heart. And to be straightforward with you, that's where God had to show me. He had to put the mirror up to my face. I was tracing down the relationships I've had with people in the past where there was a lot of fallouts. And a lot of the fallouts and a lot of the hurt from the fallouts stemmed from me labeling the relationship quickly. I was at fault for labeling it quick. After a week, I'm like, oh, that's fam. Where I was quick to label them saying, oh, that's family. But then the other person didn't feel the same way. They were like, oh, that's just a friend. Or I was like, oh, that's a really good friend. But then they're like, oh, that's just an acquaintance, or that's just my beat maker. And it really hurt. But it was due to me labeling something sooner had me hurt even more. It made me more bitter because I threw an invisible expectation on the person. It's just like an album that comes out nowadays. Nowadays, everybody's so quick to be like, this is a classic. This is an instant classic. And I'm just like, man, let it ride out for a year or two, or at least 5 years, and then come back and see if you have the same answer. And yeah, sometimes with certain albums, they end up living up to that. 5 years, it's like it's still a classic. But then there's a lot of albums where I'm like, man, what was I thinking? That album is not a classic. But that's how it is in relationships. Because there are certain people you may run into that automatically you click with. You're like, oh, shoot, this is the dude, this is the homie. And then in certain situations, 8 to 10 years later, y'all are still tight. But then you have a lot of situations where, due to the mood you're in at the moment, you meet somebody and you connect with them in that season you're in your life. But then seasons change and relationships change. Don't label it quick. Because when you put a label on something, you're just asking to be hurt. That's a reminder to myself. Even nowadays, I'm still learning. I don't know everything. You know what I mean? I don't know anything. I'm still learning, just like the next person. You never want to quickly label something that's not even solid yet, because you never want to expect home-cooked meal results from microwave TV dinner relationships. To prevent future hurt, don't label things too quickly. Let it live, let it breathe, and let it grow. Real rap.